Okay, we're live. I'm Gavaguy, and I am here today with a YouTuber and Google Plus person who goes by the handle Super Muslim. Um, I get a lot of questions sometimes of how I come across people that I meet and have brought into the community in some cases. For Super Muslim, I know that I saw some of your posts, and I quickly obviously identified you as a Muslim, and I saw that you had some very thoughtful posts. You have had criticism from some more conservative Muslims, and I don't know if you would say that you're a moderate Muslim. From my perspective, I would consider you a moderate Muslim, only with regard to your kind of interpretation of the Quran, and I think that you're, from what I've seen, and you can say more about this in a bit, but you're very devout in your faith and your commitment to Islam. So that being said, I thought that you were an interesting person and someone that I wanted to engage with, and I hope that others will be interested in engaging with you as well. I've tried in the past to kind of bring some Muslims into our great debate community, but there's been issues with language, and your English is very good, so that's another reason that I really hope that we can involve you, and that you could be part of some conversations that are ongoing here. So my first question for you is it okay for me to call you Super Muslim, or is there a name that you prefer to go by here?
You can call me Amir.
Amir, okay.
Yeah.
Let me write that down so that I remember it.
So if you see my Google Plus profile, my profile name is Super Muslim Amir, whatever.
Okay.
So you will remember.
And how do you spell it? Is it A-M-I-R?
Yeah, A-M-I-R.
Okay, great. I like that's a nice name.
Yeah, thank you. It means Amir means like a prince or a leader kind of a guy.
Okay. What was I going to ask? Okay.
So before you ask the question, let me thank you for all your kind words and inviting me to this community, which I was very interested in joining. I've never engaged in I've engaged in a couple of voice chats, but it's the first time for me that I'm going public with my voice on YouTube or whatever, Google Plus or whatever, wherever this video might go to. I've been online and representing Islam and Muslims in general for the last couple of years. It's been a learning experience for me, and I still consider myself a student. I change my opinions every day, so you might find myself contradict me when I say something today. Tomorrow I might change it, and so this is who I am. I'm open for new ideas. I'm not a person who thinks that I know everything. I'm not a scholar kind of a guy. I don't learn things to gain scholarship kind of a thing. I am a practical guy. I try to implement things which I understood. So you might not find me using big words like, I don't know, empirical and methodology and I don't know, these kind of philosophical big words, but I'm very truthful to my faith and my religion and my life. So I try to understand the underlying concept rather than doing it as a philosophical, I don't know, argument kind of a thing. So I try to understand what is the story behind the words and try to understand them, and try to make it part of my life. So
I
if you throw, for example, if you go through my Google Plus profile, you will see that my I keep on changing my topics every time. I try to concentrate on one topic and try to engage with people with on that topic, and keep bringing those people back again and ask them questions and make them answer and make my own changes to my own views and opinions based on that. So you can call me, I don't know. There is a general term, moderate Muslim or whatever, but I don't think I'm a moderate Muslim. I consider myself to a Muslim who is following the 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 law as the book says. So that's me.
well, I appreciate that. That's I think of myself as somebody. I try to. I know that there are a lot of things that I don't know, and when I come into these conversations, I do my best to come in also with an open mind, and I like your approach. I think we both approach things with questions, and um, so that you and I have, I think, a good deal in common with regard to our approach to things, and so that's cool.
That's good.
Um, so um, I've got two questions, and you can answer these however you want to. So, what country would you say that you are from, and what country do you live in now?
So I'm from India. I am a born. I was born into a Muslim family, a very conservative Muslim family. My mother wears the hijab, and my father is not a very religious person, but mother is very religious. She reads Quran, and she tries to do all the mandatory rituals that we have in Islam, like five praying 5 times a day and these kind of things. Generally, my family is from part of India where uh, we have generally a huge population of Muslims, and we have also population from the other religions, and the country the state is called Kerala. So because of the number of people, it's we have a kind of a strength kind of a thing going, and that means that all the communities, all the religious people and the groups, they share political power and share neighborhoods, and it's a very culturally rich place, one of the most culturally rich places you will find on earth. And there is a lot of love and business relations among people of different religions. So I've from my childhood I've been with people who are of diverse religions and beliefs and everything. But if you've been to India, you what you'll notice is that the atheism, or whatever you call it, is not normal. So if you won't find a person, uh, it's very rare to find a person who says there is no God or these kind of things. Normally, people are very religious. They There are Christians, there are Hindus, but most of the people are religious. They believe in God and everything. So in my childhood, or in my youth, I've never exposed myself to this idea, or that there are people, there are
Well,
writers and everything, but I never engaged in discussions with them. So that's the story. But now, after my studies, I started traveling for my work. So it's been 8 years I'm traveling. I've been to 9, 10 countries. Uh, been to Mexico, African countries, Middle East. Now I'm in Europe. So I've seen quite a lot of people and interacted with a lot of cultures. That explains why my language is somewhat okay.
Yeah, your English is very very good. It's and I didn't know about your background and the diversity of kind of cultural diversity that you were exposed to. That's interesting. Um, I I grew up in the United States. I was born and raised here, and uh, there's the community that I grew up in was only diverse, really, with regard to various interpretations of Christianity. So we had Catholics and Lutherans and um, kind of more fundamentalist Christians like Baptists and what are called Pentecostals. But we didn't have really. I don't know if I can think of anybody from my school growing up who was, uh, a different faith like Islam or Hinduism or Hindu rather. So I didn't have exposure like that, and a lot of times those those kinds of conversations about the differences in beliefs, even within that community of people who have slight differences within the range of people who identify themselves as Christians, uh, it's discouraged to kind of discuss or debate. So really, the only people that I got religious ideas from were the people from my church and my family who were all pretty homogenous with regard to their belief sets and things. So it was only when I got to college that I really got exposure like you got growing up. So that's interesting.
So I'm going to share a link with you so that you can see more details. This
Sure,
is
great.
from Wikipedia Religions in Kerala.
Okay, Kerala. Okay,
So
cool.
there's actually 54 percentage of residents who are Hindus, which are the 80% of India is 54% in Kerala, and Muslims are 18%, which is higher than the national percentage, and the Muslims are 26%, and Christians are 18%. So you find more Christians in Kerala than any other state. And
Interesting.
the story goes that one of the disciples of Jesus, I think his name is Thomas or something, I don't know. This guy came to Kerala. So our history with Christianity is as long as, I don't know, European.
Very interesting. Yeah, and I'll go ahead and post a link to this in the description box for this hangout so that other people can see that as well.
And with Islam also, one of the disciples of Prophet Muhammad came to Kerala, and he built a mosque there, which is very close to my home. So it's as long as been it's all been already been 1,400 years that Islam is there. So the Hindus of my state, they were welcoming to both Christians and Muslims, and we thrived. Both the religions thrived. So you say that there are so many different sections, or I don't know, inside Christianity. We see every kind of Christianity in Kerala. There are hundreds and thousands of churches of different denominations. They have issues between each other, discussions and whatever. I don't know. And even in Muslim side, we have there are like 3 4 major groups who are like Sufis, and one group is like a Salafi movement. One is like a moderate kind of a group, which I also have affiliation to. So it's a very diverse and very rich state.
So can I ask, does your family identify themselves as Sunni or Shia, or is that, I know that you've in posts have said, Muslims really need to kind of throw out this identification. Do you want to say anything about that?
So basically, this Shia religion is not something which is very popular in my state because our roots are from the Prophet directly. Our religion was started from the original roots from the Arabia. So the Shia group comes from the Iraq region through Afghanistan. So the north part of India has a huge population of Shia Muslims. So you won't find a Shia mosque or anything in my state. So generally, we are the Sunni, what we call the Sunni interpretation of Islam, which I think is the more, I don't know, more, which makes more sense to me um, than the Shia religion. But now, what's happening now is that the boundaries, the divide, is now getting very thinner and thinner. People are realizing that okay, even if I identify myself as a Shia, I don't have to insult the prophet's wife or this person or that person, and people are trying to uh, unite, kind of a thing. And Iran is also playing a very big role in this. But people like ISIS and these kind of extremist organizations are using this divide between these two groups to fan more flame into the issue and get more support. So this is the reason why I started a campaign like 2 months ago about this issue, and I got a lot of criticism from the Sunni Muslims saying that they are this, they are that. So I had to go and search a lot of communities and find some Shia Muslims, and I had to talk to them and understand their religion. And I asked them to comment on my post. And now I think there is a this after 2 months now, the hatred or whatever, the divide is not very evident. Now these guys can come and post comments on my wall, and nobody just, and the people just treat them normally. So that's a thing that's going on.
Yeah, that's positive. You know, uh, it reminds me of kind of the conflict between the Protestants and Catholics in Ireland, and I mean there have always been these religious divides, and it's the history of religion is interesting to me just for that fact that you have these people who they say we're the authentic group, and this other groups are heretics, and in some cases, you have people that can kind of coexist and disagree, but at least not become violent. And then you have other groups that just clash and just cannot seem to uh, get over their disagreement in a way, in a peaceful way. And I'm always in favor of people working toward peaceful resolutions and more peaceful and productive interactions, even when there are disagreements and things. So I definitely salute you for that.
So, I mean, in my opinion, the the most important thing that we who are active on this Google or any social media is that we should be very tolerant with what other people might say. Like, for example, when the Shia Muslims, they say certain things, it's really outrageous. And as a Muslim, I can never agree with these things, but I just let them say whatever they say. And if I disagree with them on certain subjects, I just, and if I comment on those things, then that's going to start a new problem. I'll just ignore them.
Yeah. So I think I would say that the internet has been a really it's made an impact for the fact that people who ordinarily wouldn't interact because they're divided by geography or by ideology and things like that, they can come together and actually interact in a way where they even when they do get upset with the other person, um, they can't take direct action. And so
Yeah.
we have this space where um, we can interact, we can get exposure to other ideas and to people. That's the most important thing, I think, is to realize that on the other side of any disagreement, they're
There's
people,
a
they
person.
have
Yeah.
jobs, they have families, they work, they're trying to make the world a better place, I think, almost
Yes.
without exception. We may have disagreements about how to come to that place where we think that the world has improved or been made better, but we can have dialogue, we can have discussion, and we don't have to resort to things that inevitably make the world a worse place. Because if my group becomes aggressive and attacks your group, it hurts your families, it hurts you, and when the other side is true, my family is hurt. And when we're both aggressive and attacking each other, nobody wins. Nobody
Exactly.
wins. So
It's a fail situation.
yeah, exactly. Um, Let me see. So I'm interested. Your English is great, like I've said, and I was wondering, have you studied at a university?
Yes, I did my school in an English medium school, and it was one of the good schools in my area. And but I was not. It was mandatory for us to speak in English in our school,
Okay.
but I never did that. I was like a rebel kind of a guy. I would rather keep quiet rather than speaking in English at that point of time. But after that, I had to travel for my post graduation. I had to travel out of my state to another state. So there, I had an option to talk in their regional language, which is Tamil, and there I met a lot of Urdu Muslims also, and there were initially I was talking to them in English, so that's when I really started using my English skills. I was very surprised to see that I can speak so fluently. But the grammar and this kind of technical details, I was always exposed to it, so it was not a very difficult or a difficult thing to do for me.
So what is your first language?
My first language is the official language of Kerala, which is called Malayalam, and I can speak other two more Indian languages like Hindi and Tamil, and I can speak English. So that's four languages.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can speak
But this
one,
is
and I
common. This is common in India. In any
yeah.
Indian would speak at least three languages.
Wow. That's cool. I studied a little Spanish in college and went to Spain, and I could navigate around in Spain, but I know that I said a lot of things that didn't make a whole lot of sense while I was there. There was somebody that asked me for directions, and my response, the literal translation of my response was, "She isn't from here," or something like that.
Mm. So
So
once in my post graduation in my college, so I started talking to Tamil, and Tamil is a very beautiful language. And when you talk in Tamil, there are like three different ways of talking. Like you can talk very formally, or we can talk it casually, or we can say we be like friends talk to each other. So there are like three different levels. So I was talking on the third level to my friends, and I used the same language to my teachers. So my classmates were looking at me when I was talking in Tamil, and my sir said to me, "Okay, whatever you do in the class, don't speak in Tamil." So
yeah,
that's
it's
something
hard to
happened.
get up. You almost have to get thrust into that place, where you're forced to use
Yes,
the language
yes,
in order to kind of become more comfortable with it.
yes.
That's so. Was language your primary study at the university, or did you study? What was your major field of study there?
I in my degree in my college after school, I did Bachelor of Commerce and Business and Banking and whatever. So I was into arts and these kind of things. Then after my degree from Kerala, I traveled to Chennai, Tamil Nadu, where I did my Master of Computer Application.
Interesting. Okay,
So
I currently
now
go
I
ahead.
work in a bank in the IT department. So both the things are now put to use.
Very interesting. I studied philosophy at the university, um, and just because I enjoyed it, I was planning to go for a degree in marketing and advertising, um, but I didn't like their degree program there because I wouldn't have been able to study virtually anything else besides the business management courses and marketing. So I decided I wanted to major in philosophy because I just loved learning about philosophy, and kind of the challenges that that brought to me. Well, what I've ended up doing, I'm currently working for an organization that helps to feed families that are in poverty and kind of give them a leg up and get them so that they're self-sustaining. But my role at this organization is within the finance department, and I work with their computer systems to help develop coding and things for their finance software. So we do something similar too. That's interesting.
But what you're doing is a
So
very noble thing.
I really enjoy it, and I've always, even before I got my degree, that I kind of have taken an odd path. My wife finished her college degree first because she knew what she wanted to study and what she wanted to do with her degree afterwards, and so she finished her degree first, and I worked, and then after she finished, then I went back to school and finished my degree. So, but
So you got
throughout
married very young?
I did. I got married. Actually, I was only 20 years old.
Oh.
Married, yeah, and we've had kids almost since the beginning there. So, uh, not the path I would advise to anyone else. We had a rough road, but we've made it, and our kids are almost grown now. So. But at any rate, what I was going to say is that my career choices have always been to do something that I feel is giving back to the community and things, because I feel like I've received a lot of positive things from society, and I want to be able to give back to other people who have not had the opportunities and things that I've had. So I've worked for years with adults that have had developmental and handicaps in some way or shape or form. I worked at an organization that helps handicapped adults for many years while my wife was going to school, and then when she was finished, now I did a little bit in politics. That was hard. I worked at a U.S. Senate office for a few years, and then when my boss, the senator, was voted out of office, then I turned and I've come to the organization that I work at now. So. I've taken kind of a crazy path to get where I am, but I've enjoyed the ride. So back to you. So you've already answered what kind of work you do. Let me ask you some more questions. You've already talked a little bit about your family. And so the next question I had for you, have you always believed Islam, and has there ever been a time in your life when you've had doubts or you felt like you couldn't identify as a Muslim?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question. I thank you for asking this question. So, as I told you, we are born into the religion, and from the word go, we start practicing. Like, for example, at my very childhood, when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, I was sent to the religious school. We get exposed to this religious studies and belief system. So it becomes part of the identity itself. So there has never been a time in my childhood years till my maybe end of my high school or whatever that I didn't identify or myself as anything else, or I didn't even have the thought of considering anything else other than Islam or anything. So it was natural and normal for me at that point in time. Then, then I started working for. There were problems in my family and some issues in the with the parents and everything. So I started becoming a rebel kind of a guy. At that point, my father helped me by putting me in touch with a Muslim religious. No, it's not a religious organization. It's a semi-political religious kind of an organization. So I worked with them for like almost 4 to 5 years. That exposed me to the revolutionary side of Islam and to uh, the most beautiful side, or what I think is most beautiful side of human side of Islam. And I was really attracted to this idea that the religion which I follow can make a lot of changes in people's life. And I was engaged in a lot of social activities, helping people, and these kind of things. I used to go for protests against general human rights violations and these kind of things in my youth years. So I was very active with that group. That's the time when I was too active that my father was going crazy because I was never at home. I would come back home after 10, 11 because I would go for painting the walls and sticking the posters and everything. So then that's the time when I finished my studies there and I traveled to Chennai for my post graduation. So before traveling to Chennai, I took a conscious decision that um, I've been doing this as a routine or a routine kind of a thing. I decided that okay, if I'm doing this thing, then it should be the right thing that I'm doing. So that started a phase when I'm still practicing the religion. I'm very spiritual because I was very lonely. I was away from my family. I was living with friends and everything. So this is the time when I was very. I went back inside me, and I was still practicing, but asking questions and making sense of what I'm doing, why I'm doing everything. So my 3 years in college was very non-event kind of a thing. I was not active with anything. I was I just withdrew to myself and I was in the process of thinking and everything. So after my college, when I started my work, I got a campus placement from my college. So immediately before I finished my studies, I had a job in a software company and I started working. So before starting my work I decided that I'm going to stop practicing completely, and I will just start practicing only once I'm 100% confirmed that I am following the right religion, and the things that I've been doing, there is some sense of doing these kind of things like praying 5 times a day. I mean, there should be some reason that I have to do it and I gain something. Before that, I was just doing it because it's mandatory. I wake up in the morning, do it in the afternoon, evenings, and in the night. So I wanted a solid reason for me to practice it. So for the next, I don't know, for the next 6 to 7 years, I didn't practice religion. I would go to the mosque once in a while, like on Fridays. It's mandatory for us to go to the mosque. So I used to go, but I was never doubting my religion. I was in a phase where I wanted to make sense of what I'm doing. So I used to ask questions and to people, and people used to say, I mean, you've gone crazy or whatever. And then I used to tell them, okay, I'm not saying that these things are what like this in my opinion, but these are the questions I want to answer. So tomorrow you might find me coming to mosque and doing these kind of things as you, but I think this is a phase wherein I'm asking questions. So please be patient with me. So this was my attitude at that point in time. So in this period, I got married. My wife, when we were married, she was a Muslim also. She was from my we went to the same school, so we knew each other a little bit. So after when we were getting married, she was like an agnostic. She used to believe in God and everything, but she's never practiced the religion. And so we used to have a lot of discussions. even though I was not practicing, we used to talk about why it makes sense that universe has a creator and these kind of discussions. And she did her post graduation in psychology and neuroscience. Then now she's doing her PhD here in Budapest. Um, so so yeah, after then I started practicing after like 6 or 7 years of non-practicing. It's been 3 years now that I'm practicing the religion, and she's also cool. She's also started practicing. She also prays with me now, so it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah,
We
that's
yeah, we engage a lot. She's into the scientific background, so this methodology and whatever, she understands all these things. So we discuss these things in a more understandable language. So that's my exposure to the so-called scientific world.
interesting. So, does is she is your wife employed as a scientist? Does she do research or
Yes,
anything?
yeah,
Okay.
she's doing a research. She has already published 2 papers, and she's working on her third one. Uh, and their lab, they are studying the development of children, how they learn, how they understand languages, and how they memorize these kind of things.
Oh,
So
that is a fascinating area of study
yeah,
for me. I find that really interesting. I don't understand a lot of it because I haven't studied it in a formal setting, but I've been exposed in different like documentaries and things, and
mm,
uh, some
I can
probably
send
more.
you I can send you her. She wrote a theory paper very recently for a scientific review, for the annual scientific review or whatever. I don't know the
Oh
book's name.
yeah, I'd love to read that. That would be great.
Yeah, I
Um,
can send it to you.
okay. So and speaking of science, we've recently had an interaction on one of your posts related to the theory of evolution, and
Mhm.
um, I was wondering. I mean, it seems like you are somewhat skeptical about evolution. Um, would you could you give us a little bit of
Okay,
a
so this is the
statement
thing.
about your position? Yeah,
The thing is that the theory of evolution, as a theory, it doesn't contradict with my belief system or the Quran in general. Okay, so the fact, or I cannot say it as a fact, but the theory which is almost like a fact inside the scientific world, that doesn't contradict with Islam. So I don't have any problem with a person who says evolution happened, this, that, and everything. So I only have a problem when a person says that all these things happen because of a natural selection process. So this is the
sure,
only point which I disagree. So instead of using the nature as the conscious being who is overseeing this whole evolution process, I see that overseeing, supervising being is a conscious creator who started the whole process and is always supervising the each and every step of the evolution process, however it took place. So if in case like what we see in those GIF images, there was a small molecule becoming this thing and that thing over a million years, it suddenly becomes this thing, it starts moving and starts flying, whatever. I don't have any problem with that kind of a thing if the God is also there.
okay. So, would you say that you are a person who it sounds like you aren't necessarily committed fully to the idea of evolution, but you would say that if evolution has occurred, that it has been guided by by your God. Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I mean, when you interact with the atheist, they say that because of mutation, the natural thing, this law, that law. So this, if there is a law or if there is a mutation, there is a process of change in a living being, then it cannot happen without a conscious, like for example, we are doing a lot of genetical changes and making these new species or whatever we are adding and splicing and whatever. This is only possible because we are conscious and we know what is happening and what we can change the environment. We can do these kind of different things because we are conscious. So what I'm saying is that if this evolution thing happened and life began to exist out of a state where there was no life, then there has to be a creator to who initiated this or is overseeing it and who has a control over the big picture. That's the
Oh,
point of view, which I don't think anybody can disagree with.
well, I can. I would take issue with that, but I would say for this conversation, that's not my purpose. My purpose here today, and I know there are probably if we do end up publishing this conversation, I have people who subscribe to my channel who will say, well, why didn't you challenge him on these things? That's not my
Mhm.
purpose in this conversation. My
Okay.
purpose here is just to get to know you, get to see or understand where you're coming from, and that's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
One more question related to that. What would you say that do you have any doubts about whether the Earth is old or young? There are fundamentalists in the great debate community who some would say the Earth is only 6 to 10,000 years old. Others are Christians who take a position more along the lines of yours, who say that they accept the idea of theistic evolution, but they accept the old Earth kind of model of kind of the history of the world from science. What is your position on the age of the Earth?
Okay. So regarding the age of the Earth, we the statements used to explain the beginning of the universe in general is almost similar to what is explained inside the Old Testament Bible. So we have the same concept, same language, almost, that God created Earth with in 6 days or whatever. But the only different thing is that the Christian point of view is that the word which is used to say 6 days, the days used, the word used for the term days is yaum, and yaum is also used as a human 24 hours day, and it can also be used as a period of time. So the Muslim, general Muslim concept of creation of universe is that the universe was created in 16 periods of time. So these periods can be millions of years long, or maybe, I don't know, from a human perspective it can be. So time is like relative. We think a day is 24 hours long from the time point of view from the earth. So from the point of view of God, I don't know. One day might be millions of years older because he is not inside the solar system. This whole 24 hours concept. So we don't have the belief that the Earth is only 10,000 years old or anything. We have a belief that whatever science says, okay, it's 2 billion, 4 billion, how many ever, we are okay with it.
Okay. Um, so I kind of want to wrap things up. I like to keep my hangouts, limited in time to not much more than an hour. I think we've gone a little bit more than an hour already, but I wanted to ask one more question. Um, Related to anonymity in the on the internet and things. So I go by the name Gavagai, or some people just call me Run. My full handle is Run Gavagai Run. But anyhow, I don't use my real name here, and the
Mhm.
reason for that is my wife, her family is still very religious. My family is religious, but um, they are at least accepting of me, and when we get together with my side of the family, things tend to be pretty cordial, and we have a good time together. Her family, there's already tensions there, just because she and I, even though she still identifies herself as a Christian, I'm an atheist. We have very similar political views. We're both, kind of what in the American politics would be identified as liberal politically. Her family is very conservative politically, and there's already some confrontations and things there. Even before I lost my faith, we were both liberal politically, and they are conservative politically, and so there's clashes there. She's concerned that if they found out that I was an atheist, that it would almost be completely intolerable to go over and visit with them at all. So you are, for the most part, anonymous on Google Plus, but from what I've seen, there are some at least potentially more serious reasons for you being anonymous on G Plus. Is that accurate? That it's more than just kind of comfortability with family members and things, but you've actually had some threats here, haven't you?
Yes, I've got like almost 7 to 8 death threats. One guy told me that he wants to cut my head with a blunt knife so that I enjoy my death or whatever. But the reason for me to be anonymous is not because of these kind of. I'm not worried about these kind of things. It's okay if I have to see these kind of things, I'll see them. I don't care about them. My reason to be anonymous and to take a avatar is to make my views general. I mean, if I'm a Amir, my usual Indian self, then I am an Indian guy. I go and sit into certain boxes. So if I'm a general super Muslim kind of a guy, then okay, you cannot put me into any box. I have the freedom to say anything, and people would just consider that to be a point of view from Islam. So that's the reason why I took this name. But I share my personal photos sometimes, so people in my circle, at least, they've seen me in group photos and whatever. So I don't use the anonymity to I don't know, hide myself from people. I use it to for a general, I don't know what purpose.
Sure. Well, that makes sense. I mean, when you identify as kind of one thing that's got nationality tied to it, and a
Yeah.
certain sect and things, that's you're right. It does put you into a box. My identification as a U.S. citizen and an
Yeah.
atheist and what have you, that puts me into a box. And I chose this term "Gava guy," which is kind of it's a term from philosophy that comes from a little known thought experiment about language and things, and I chose that in part because there's kind of this ambiguity and mystery to it. So I can definitely appreciate that. So. That was really the last set of questions that I had for you. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask of me, or even just to kind of make a general statement of to kind of wrap things up here?
Uh, Nothing in general. I think we had a very decent conversation. We fulfilled the purpose of this 1 hour that we dedicated for this. Yeah.
Very good. Well, and I really enjoyed our conversation too. I hope that as we go forward, we can continue and have others. And I hope that people in the community will show you as much respect as you show them, because I think you are a very cordial and respectful guy, and I really appreciate that. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance here, and
Thank you.
hope we can continue in the future.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and cut the broadcast now.
Okay.